Hello guys, this is Pantsmith36. Today's video is going to be a little bit of a product review. I haven't done many of these, but we're going to do one today. And we're going to be looking at this new line of products here from Wilder. This is Wilder's Aqua Line, which is basically brand new in North America. It was announced about a week ago, I think. And many people hadn't heard about them before. They've been out in Russia for a little while now, and I have the full line here to do a review for you guys. Now, I did get these for free to do the review, but I'm not being paid anything to say good things about them, so I'm going to give you my honest opinion as I always do. So first of all, the Aqua Line is a series of water-based acrylic reactivatable weathering products. And you might kind of hesitate at the thought of weathering with acrylics, because often many people will do that when they start off. They try to do pin washes and stuff like that with acrylic paints, and then you realize that they dry way too fast and you can't do any cleanup because they dry, well, you can't reactivate them. So you end up with tide marks and excess everywhere and you can't clean it up. That's why we often use things like enamels or oils, because you just get a little bit of thinner on your brush after it's dry and you can just rub away any excess you don't like. But these actually behave a lot like enamels, except you just use water to clean them up afterwards. And they're really cool. So I'm going to give you guys a quick demo of some of these products here. In this video we're going to look at these 5 here, which are the mud and dust effects, and then we're going to do other videos on the rusty stuff, and then another video over here on the other ones. So the 5 earth effects in the Aqua Line are brown mud, common dust, dark earth, light mud, and dry earth. And they're all the typical kind of varying brownish, greenish, beigeish earth effects that you can just kind of use a couple of on your tank to get like a darker effect lower down for like mud and dirt, and then you get a lighter effect higher up for some dust. And I'm going to test these out here. I'm not going to show every single one, but I'm going to show a couple of them on just a test piece here for you guys. So they come in this typical Wilder 50 milliliter jar, you know, like everything else comes in from them. And I'm going to show you inside. So in there you might be able to see that this is a very, very thick mixture. It's like yogurt or cottage cheese or something like that. Obviously you're not supposed to use it from the jar. I think you're supposed to thin it down with water a little bit. But it's nice to see that you actually pay for a lot of product and not 90% thinner. Also, what you'll notice when you open them up is that it smells like vanilla. I'm not joking, there is a distinct vanilla, like icing scent. And I asked Adam Wilder and he said he did that to make them more enjoyable to work with. So that's a bonus. There's no bad smell. It smells great. It took me a while to get over that. That was pretty funny when I first opened them up and I was like, why does it smell like vanilla? Am I going insane? But yeah, so we're going to test this out on a test piece now. So here I have dark earth and dry earth from the Aqua Line, thinned down with a little bit of water, just normal tap water. And I've thinned them down a little bit because, as you saw, they were quite thick in the jar. And we're just going to basically start applying some dust streaks and dust accumulations to the lower areas of this T34 hull here. Now that the Aqua Line has had some time to dry, we're going to take a little bit of water on our brush and we're just going to blend it in the same way you would blend in any sort of enamel effect using, you know, thinners or anything like that. So here is a result of the general streaking of dusty, muddy, etc. effects on the side of the hull. I was using the dark earth and the dry earth pigments or products in the background here. And basically what I did was, as you saw in the video, I would apply just the effect, thin down a little bit, and then I waited about 30 minutes to an hour so it would dry. Not entirely dry, there were still some areas that are actually still wet along the very, very bottom, but the most of it was dry and all the streaks were dry. So then I wet my brush with a little bit of water, and then I went in and kind of blended them and reactivated them and streaked them around and stuff like that. The key thing is to let them dry before you do that streaking, because I was testing this earlier, and if you basically apply it and then try to blend it right away, it'll get real messy real fast and the streaks won't look very good. So you have to apply it, let it dry, and then go in and then do the blending afterwards, and it'll reactivate like this. I tried it. This product will reactivate with water days after you've applied it and it's dried. So you've got tons of time, and basically in the same way you do a dot filter with oils, you know, you apply the dots of paint and then you want them to dry before you do the blending, otherwise they smudge too much and they're not really, you don't have any control basically. So same thing here, you apply it, key thing, let it dry. I can't stress this enough, and then do the blending and it will look pretty good like this. I'm very happy. I was just kind of doing some random streaking effects. I applied some more of the darker effect over there. I looked kind of not that great, but over here I think I nailed it much better, so I'm happy with this, and I think that looks really good for dust streaking. As for mud buildups and stuff like that, this product's a little bit too thin, doesn't have very much texture to it because it's basically a liquid product. So I think that if you use this as a base and then went in afterwards and applied some, you know, more pigments and maybe some more textured mud products, then you could actually build up a nice kind of wet, more like wet, darker effect lower down, and then also do a little bit more blending of a more kind of like kicked up dust rather than this streaking dust effect. But I think that looks really good on the hull right there. So now let's try a couple more products on the upper surface of the tank and make some kind of fun accumulated dust effects up there. So on the front of the hull here, I did some kind of dusty accumulation, streaky effects. This color is the brown mud color, and as you saw in the video, I basically would apply a little bit with my smaller brush and then let it dry. So it was maybe like half an hour. I'd wait, I'd just go watch a video or something like that and come back. And then I would use this brush here, the small one, wet that with water, and I would kind of, shape the streaks and everything like that, and basically get everything the way I liked it. But I wouldn't do the final blending with this brush. Then I would use this one here, which is a 1/8 inch angular shader. It's a very good brush for blending. I use it for blending pigments and oils and everything like that. And this brush was basically dry, but there was still a little bit of water on there from when I had been kind of doing that initial blending, as I said, with this smaller brush. And then I would do the kind of the final blending and just kind of up and down with this one here, and that kind of helped to smooth everything out, tone it down a little bit, and I think that kind of is how I'm going to work with this from now on. That came out really well. So as you can see, I just kind of have some dusty accumulations there. Looks pretty good, and I did a little bit more over here. I used a different color on that side there. That was the light mud color, so it's a little bit lighter. But overall, I think these products look pretty good. So in conclusion, I think that these are a very, very nice new line of products. I'm very impressed with them. They basically behave just like nail products might if you're doing, dusty streaking effects or stuff like that, except that these work with water, so you don't need any thinners or anything like that. You just apply a little bit of water and you can blend them down. There's no stinky fumes or anything like that. Just a nice vanilla scent from the products. Like I mentioned earlier, it's very nice. So what I think I would use these for is probably dust streaks. Not so much mud buildup, but kind of like dust streaks like I've done here, or dust streaks on the side of the hull, because one thing I often have an issue with is if you apply dust streaks using a nail product, and then you go in later and apply more nail products, to do some muddy effects or some wet effects. When you start to clean up those later enamel products, the thinner will start to, reactivate the dust streaks and mess them up. But if you make the dust streaks out of these, and then you do the later effects with enamels, like I said, when you start to use the thinners to blend those later enamel effects, they won't mess up the streaks you've made with these, because they'll be set in and they don't activate with the Wilder thinner or the AK Interactive thinner, because I tested those two on them. No problems at all. Only actually started to remove it when I was really scrubbing with the thinner, so it was probably just scraping off with my brush. So any gentle blending shouldn't have any effect with these. So even though I said I like to use them for dust effects, I would like to see one of these in a darker color, because they're all fairly light. So if you want to actually do like a dark wet mud effect, you'd need to mix some brown pigment in with them, or actually what I was thinking was I could just take some of the Black Smoke Aqua Line, which is just black, and mix it with one of these and darken it up. Because most of these effects are very, very light to mid, so you got basically dust and dirt, but nothing really super wet. So if you want to do some wet effects or some muddy effects, you might want to use something darker or darken one of these up. Another thing I noticed was when I was applying the streaks and also applying the dusty effects, they don't really flow as well as a nail product would, probably because water has more surface tension, so it kind of, doesn't flow super well. So that actually kind of lend itself well to doing the dust streaks, because you could actually just, make the streak and it wouldn't really spread out or kind of flow away like a nail products or oils might do. So that's kind of a bonus for the dust effects, but if I want to do a pin wash with them, it's going to be a little bit harder to make them flow around. And we're going to look at doing a pin wash in another video with some of the other Aqua Line products. But for right now, that seems pretty good. I'll see if I can maybe mix in a little bit of dish soap, because that'll often kill the surface tension. So when I'm doing the pin washes, stuff like that, I'll do a little bit of a test there to see if I can make it flow a little better. But still, shouldn't be much of a problem, because it still does flow, just not as well as an oil or enamel wash would. So that wraps up this video, guys. As always, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. My final thoughts are basically, if you like enamel products, you'll like these, because they're not much different, but they have their own unique way of working with water instead of enamel thinners. Thanks to Wilder for sending these products out for us to take a look at. And of course, a big thanks also to our Patreons, Ricky from Ryan's Painting, Samuel Murphy, John Butler, and Ian Sustrick. They give me a few dollars every month here, which helps me out buying products for you guys to see in videos. So as always, thanks for watching very much. This is Panzermice36, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.